in the liquor section over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge today on Sports Shorts Daily. Please go ahead and like and share this video. Today we're going to get into talking some Pelicans. The Pels win game 2 of the series against the Phoenix Suns. So we actually have a series now because it's not just, hey, can the Pels win 1 game, maybe 2, and feel good about themselves. They're actually going home thinking, hey, we might be able to win this series. And by the way, it's a best of 7 series. It's 1-1. Pelicans going home for games 3 and 4. And yours truly and Joel Davis will be at game 4 in the blender on Sunday night. I'll have a full report on Monday morning on Sports Shorts Daily what that experience is like. I'm sure it's going to be quite memorable. Hey, actually, we're going to be there for a meaningful game and not just trying to salvage a victory. Who knows what happens Friday. Sunday night's going to be giant either way. But super excited. The Pelicans were down 5 at halftime. They come back, storm back, and win going away over the Phoenix Suns. I'll have some thoughts on that. Also, LSU Baseball last night. The Tigers in their 3-game losing streak take care of UL Lafayette. The Raging Cajuns had a real big 5-run fourth or 5th. They scored 5 runs and they win 8-4 over the Raging Cajuns. In the last and final Wally Pontiff junior game at LSU, we'll talk about that experience and whatnot as well. Also, it's Zurich Classic week. The only 2-man team event on the PGA Tour is in New Orleans. It starts tomorrow. Today's the Pro-Am. I know Sean Payton is playing today in the Pro-Am. I know Drew Brees is in New Orleans, so he's probably playing in the Pro-Am as well. Chris Berman is there. Back. He's playing in the Pro-Am. They were all at Desi Vegas last night having dinner. Hey, Scotty Scheffler, the number 1 player in the world, the Masters champion, the guy who's been on a Tiger Woods type heater over the last couple of months, he's playing in the event. So it's going to be awesome, and I'm hoping to get out there Sunday afternoon to go watch the final round of that one. LSU baseball this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and spring game on Saturday for LSU. So a lot to get to. Let's bring in Tommy Christ in right now. TK, last night, I'll let you start off with some LSU baseball, then we'll get to the Pelicans. 6,700 tickets sold, the final game of the Wally Pontiff Junior Classic. LSU gets a win. What was your biggest takeaway from the game?
Well, they had the big lead, and the Raging Cajuns tried to shake back in it, and the bullpen came in and kind of did the job. Rosamond 2 1/3 and gets a save. So that was good stuff. I thought Floyd threw okay. And again, I was calling a state playoff softball game on the Parkview Digital Network. So I just read the box score, but looked like Floyd's numbers were okay. But bottom line is they got off of that losing streak. They got a win against a team from an hour to the west, a team that's going to compete in the Sun Belt and possibly win that or win the Sun Belt tournament. They're good enough to do that. So it was a good win for LSU, but they got to turn the page and get ready for, as you said, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday series with the Missouri Tigers. And, on paper, LSU got to get 2 out of these 3, if not all 3. So nice win for the Tigers. I used it in the promo for Sports Shorts Daily, the little team picture by Jay Johnson that he posts on Twitter on his own account, not the LSU baseball account. A lot of talk about that. We'll just let it be until we know more about it.
Yeah, that's something that he did at Arizona. It's look, quite honestly, a lot of these coaches do stuff like that because it resonates with the youth. It resonates with the recruits. He's not tweeting that out because he wants you or I to like it.
Oh,
He's tweeting that out so that a 16-year-old kid they're recruiting in Iowa thinks it's funny or cool or awesome or whatever, or the players on their team, they buy into it. So that's what matters. But I agree. It's a little quirky. It's a little weird, but clearly he likes it and it's worked. So they're staying with it. I'll have to ask him about that and get a little more as to what the background is on it. But clearly they're targeting someone else, not Tommy and Ronnie.
Well, I would say this: if it helps recruiting, do it every time you win, because it's all about recruiting and getting players. And when I was at his press conference Monday, he said, it wasn't a secret. He said, we need better pitching. He meant for the future. He didn't mean the guys now. They're doing what they can. They need to get that hammer for Friday night and all that. And he's aware of all that. So, it's all about recruiting.
By the way, LSU's win over the Raging Cajuns. Ty Floyd was the story for me. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, did not walk anybody, and struck out 8. And the most impressive thing about Ty Floyd was that he did it a lot towards the back end of the game. The last couple of innings, he really was working in the breaking ball a bunch, including he had back-to-back strikeouts with the curveball. And at one stretch, Tommy threw 7 breaking balls in a row. And 6 of them for strikes. So I really think that he took a giant step forward for his own confidence last night, did Ty Floyd, as well as the coach's confidence in him, in the fact that he threw, pounded the zone, didn't walk anybody, and showed that breaking ball ability. And for the first time in his career, really showed that breaking ball ability. And so that bodes well because they're looking for – he was a guy they really liked. He got a bunch of starts early on. He started against Texas, the number 1 team or number 2 team in the country at the time when they played against him in Houston. And he's fallen out of favor the last month or so. And now it's an opportunity after that performance, I think, for them to maybe, one more good outing and he could be back in there as a starter on the weekend.
Yeah, I agree with that. And this pitching staff needs some guys to up their game and get the job done no matter how many innings they're out there or how much they're asked to do.
Don't be surprised with 5 innings pitched and more importantly, only 71 pitches thrown. Don't be surprised if he's not available to start or pitch some on Sunday in this series, or Saturday rather, in this series. I mean, you're talking about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 4 days after you pitch. That's a day beyond your pen day. So, the possibility is there that he could throw in relief if need be, and then that would put him on pace to get an opportunity to maybe throw another inning in relief midweek and then get a start potentially on the weekend. I don't think there's enough of what we've seen out of the other guys to go – obviously Money and Hilliard right now you feel pretty comfortable with. Maybe they're all being forced to pitch in a game above their slot, but you have a void in that 3rd spot. And if Floyd can go back to back, then I think you might want to give him that opportunity to get back in there on the weekend because they're still looking. As you mentioned, Raiselman, 2 1/3 innings in the back end, 0 hits, 1 walk, 3 punch outs. Eric Raiselman, the toe tapper, is locked in right now, Tommy. Outside of maybe 2 appearances this year where he didn't command the fastball and they had to pull him because he hit a guy, walked a couple. Outside of really 2 appearances, he's been pretty rock solid for LSU.
Yeah, he throws hard, get that heavy fastball, if you will, and the toe tap thing kind of, I guess he watches a lot of TV, sees a lot of the big league guys do that, but he got the job done, no question about it.
Chance saying, as a lifelong LSU fan and a USL graduate, I was too conflicted to watch much of the game last night. Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me, right? I mean, I went to LSU. I'm always going to pull for LSU against anybody. But at the same time, giant Matt Deggs fan, giant Raging Cajun fan. When they play anybody else, I'm pulling for the Raging Cajuns. I was surprised because I know a little bit about this team and I've done some of their games. I was surprised at the struggles that Brandon Talley had. Brandon Talley, who was the second pitcher last night, the good lefty, he's one of their main guys. He went an inning and 2/3, gave up 2 hits, walked a guy, hit a guy, gave up 5 runs. Now, only 2 of them were earned. But when they brought Brandon Talley in, I think at the time possibly a 1-1 game. It was a 1-1 game, I think, when he came in. The expectation was that, all right, we're going to bring in our guy. He's going to give us a few innings. We're going to have a chance to sit right there and make a move. And then Brandon Talley just really struggled. So that was really surprising. And outside of that, I'm making a prediction, Tommy. The guy at the end of the rotation for UL Lafayette last night, the last pitcher who threw the 8th, Bo Bonds from the Panhandle of Florida. Bo Bonds worked an inning, did not give up a hit against LSU, didn't strike out anybody, walk anybody. He went 3 up, 3 down through 11 pitches. Bo Bonds, unfortunately, is somebody that the Raging Cajuns are going to have to fight to keep next year. He is transfer portal bait. if there ever was any. He's technically a sophomore, but Bo Bonds comes at you 92, 93 for 5'11", but has a snapdragon curveball and throws that front side elbow and arm. It's a little herky jerky. He is outstanding. I've watched him this year. He's their best reliever on the team. Got a 2.84 earned run average. Bo Bonds is going to be somebody that Seth Thibodeau and Matt Deggs are going to have to really do everything they can to make sure he doesn't end up at a A&M and LSU or wherever next year.
They got to re-recruit him. That's a term now for college sports. You got to re-recruit them guys that are wearing your uniform.
I talked to Jay last night and some other coaches, obviously with the Baton Rouge Rougarou, our summer college baseball team that plays at Pete Goldsby Field in Baton Rouge this summer, and all of them bring up the fact that, hey, I need to see who's staying, who's going in the portal. Hey, I might get you some players in July once I know that they're not transferring and the portal date's up. And, it's crazy. It's crazy that it has to be that way. But basically, that's the way it is that, even LSU is not immune to players wanting to leave and transfer. And, Jay's got to figure his roster out from that perspective of who may leave as well as who he may bring in. So,
and Ronnie, look, we can beat the transfer portal to death in all sports, but they really got to put some rules in, certain windows of time that you can enter the portal, certain window of time when you got to tell your current team, hey, I'm in or I'm out. Kind of like when a kid gets drafted, right? He's got first day of class. If he goes to class, he's not signing. If he signs, 5 minutes before he walks in the first day of class, then he's a pro. There's got to be some more rules, and I don't just say this for LSU or the Raging Cajuns. I'm talking about every school. I mean, you just got to have something better or better way to handle this going forward. I saw a tweet last night. Over 3,600 football players got in the portal in the last year. They either got in and went back to where they were, or they got in and went to a different school. 3,600. That's an average of 26 players per school in the division, in the FBS, the 130 teams. I mean, you can do the math there. That's 20-something players per team jumped in the portal.
And it's only going to get worse, not better. It's 1 year free agency. Is what everything is 1 year free agency now. You're literally putting together your roster every year.
It's like travel ball. You can play for the Leopard Dogs 1 year and the Sun Devils the next year, and then the next year you can go play for the Saints or whoever. Right. So I mean, it's like travel ball. It's crazy.
It's miserable for these coaches. And honestly, Tommy, you got to pay them a lot of money because it's a horrible job. I mean, imagine having to, just hold their hand and kiss the butt of high school players and their families and tell them how wonderful they are as blow this smoke for years on a kid. And then he gets there and he struggles the first couple practices, you yell at him and he transfers, or he plays, 1 year and he transfers. And then you got to do it again over and over and over and over. It's, miserable.
Well, here's the thing, college baseball, you get a guy, let's say you get a guy, and if he's out the transfer portal, and if he has a great year, he's going to go to the draft. If he has a bad year, he's going to the portal. You got to get a guy that has a middle-of-the-road year, then you're not going to win enough games. So, I mean, it's a triple-edged sword. You always say double-edged sword. I feel for these coaches. Well, they make a lot of money. I'm all for that. But, wow, the landscape is a lot different than it was a short 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, and I tell you, I had we both have had conversations with Paul Maneri and stuff, and Coach Maneri admitted that played a part of his decision to want to retire, when he did, and not maybe fight for a couple more years because of just the landscape and the fact that, hey, if I'm going to be good at LSU, that means I got to steal players from mid-majors and other programs that coaches that I'm friends with and things like that, and I don't know that I want to do that at this phase of my career. And that was, verbatim.
Well, and then when we hadn't mentioned, you throw NIL in there, and, you got a deal at school A and school B says, hey, we can double that. Follow the money.
All right, let's talk. Speaking of money, the Pelicans win by 11 last night over the Phoenix Suns. So all that money that Tommy won in game one, he lost in game two because you had the Pelicans minus what, 9? Was it? Did you get?
I had the Suns minus 9.5
I mean, you
again.
had the Suns
Same
minus
exact
9.5.
line. I went with the same exact line, and Suns were up 5 at half. I'm like, okay, we all right, But then huge third quarter by the Pelicans, followed by a very good fourth quarter. We talked on Sports Shorts Daily on Monday that how much confidence did they get from hanging in there with the Suns on game one? Well, and we talked about they wanted to split the series in Phoenix. It's a 7-game series. Now it's a 5-game series. And the next 2 games are in New Orleans. Then it goes 1-1-1. Game 5, 6, 7 will go Phoenix, New Orleans, back to Phoenix. So if there was a game 7, it'd be in Phoenix. But, man, the Pelicans got to feel good about a convincing victory last night. After being in the ball game late in the fourth quarter Sunday night, they get to come home. Hopefully that building is packed. It's rocking. It's loud like it was for that play-in game against the Spurs. I don't know. Who knows, Ronnie? The line's not out yet. We don't have a line. You can't go to LeBare's Sportsbook and bet on it yet, but that's coming soon, I would think.
By the way, Brandon Ingram last night became the man. Brandon Ingram, 37 points, 11 rebounds. And if you watch the game, you saw that he rolled his ankle pretty severely and then, hobbled through it and worked through it and got back in there. But, he was sensational. 3 for 3 from three-point range. Was, shot over 50% from the field, 13 of 21. The guy was just in fuego. And Brandon Ingram, the thin man, as they call him, was outstanding. C.J. McCollum was the floor general. He had 23 points, 8 rebounds in the game. Larry Nance Jr. had double digits off the bench. But there's something special about this team. They're down 5 at halftime on the road, and then they just flipped it into gear and took over in the second half and really would have won by more had there been more time left on the clock. Just a sensational game. And there was one of the best blocks I've seen this year by Jackson Hayes, Tommy. He had a little spin around jumper on the lane, did Jackson Hayes at 6'11". He had his shot blocked. He goes down the other end and pins it against the backboard and kind of spikes it on a layup attempt to, literally seconds after he had his own shot blocked. So, and he was fired up, and Jackson Hayes has made the biggest jump of any player from the beginning of the year to now. This dude is going to be a star in the league. And obviously we know about, the big three and the development of the other players. Wow. You can't throw enough bouquets about this team, but to go on the road against the number 1 seed and split the series, that's the best you could have done. TK, we got your mute on.
Yeah, of course you want to win every game, but the goal was to split. To win 2 and turn it into a 5-game series with the next 2 in New Orleans. As Chance says, the Smoothie King Center is going to be rocking. I hope it is. Hope it's packed, loud, wild, and crazy like the good old days.
Pelicans last night, TK, shot 54% from the field. They shot over 50% from 3. You do that in the NBA, you're going to win 90% of the time. To shoot over 50% from both of those, they got it done. Giant win, and now come home, and I imagine the stars are going to be out. Whoever the who's who of stars for the Pelicans will be in attendance Friday night. Think about it. You got the Zurich going on in New Orleans, so you got all those golfers that are going to want to go see playoff basketball. Game doesn't start till like 8:30. So if you're not teeing off at 9, 10 a.m., if you're teeing off midday or something, you can go to the basketball game, and you're going to have a lot of Saints in the house. It's going to be a who's who. Going to be an awesome experience over there Friday night in the blender.
And Ronnie, when you think back to this team was 1-12 and then 3-16, I want to say, you, me, a lot of people like, oh well, just gonna just have to waddle through the season and see what happens. Well, credit Willie Green, the head coach. He's done a fabulous job. He's not listed on as one of the top 3 candidates for Coach of the Year. That's a little odd. I'm not saying he should win it, but he should be listed as one of the top, okay? I saw one of those columns the other day, and I said, hey, let me look and see if Willie Green's in there. But, hey, to get from 1-12, 3-16 to this coming Friday night, which should be sold out, packed, loud, going crazy, That's quite a story.
Yeah, Chance pointing out that's French Quarter Fest in the quarter this weekend too. So
That's.
I mean, you throw in those thousands of people in town for that. You throw in the Zurich. You throw in what's going on with the
Ronnie, I got a plan. See, like you and Joel can go to the French Quarter Fest like noon, hang out with some music, some great food, some crawfish.
That's too much hanging out time. No,
that's too much time with Joel.
That's way too much hanging out time.
You know what he told me last night? I was talking to him, not during the broadcast, and I was like, "Man, Ronnie," said, "Ronnie, better you than me taking Joel to the game." He goes, "Well, I don't get into basketball as much as I do the Saints." Then he goes, "Well, but I might."
I think Joel and I might meet at the entrance. Like, hey, I'll meet you at gate 42.
Yeah, I'll text you when I'm standing there, and then go right into the gate.
That's right. I'm gonna hand you I'm gonna text you. I'll meet you inside. I'm gonna send you the ticket. All right, let's talk a little bit about that Zurich that's going on this weekend. This tournament turned into a tournament, Tommy, that struggled to get the A-list players in the last decade or so because it was so close to after the Masters. It used to be a couple, literally 2 weeks. I guess it is still 3 weeks after the Masters. Sometimes you didn't get those guys, but when they went to the team format. Credit Brian Sheremy and all the board members over there with the 4Kids Foundation to come up with this idea. It has now taken the Zurich and moved it into one of the top 10 events on the tour each and every year.
Well, it's the only PGA Tour event that's a two-man team competition. We got some of the top golfers in the world, including the number one golfer in the world, Scotty Scheffler, who just won the Masters. And no, I'm glad to see a great field. Hopefully the weather's great. And as you mentioned, with all the things going on in the greater New Orleans area, this isn't like it used to be when you had all these things going on. And look, and if you've never been to a PGA Tour event, I say this every year, go and get as close to the rope as you can. Find even the guys you never heard of. Follow them for a couple of holes. You'll see why they're PGA Tour players, and you and I are hacking it up at Greystone or whatever, So, it's something to see. Or go on a driving range and watch them hit 25 straight balls that all would land in a bucket if there was a bucket out there.
Right. I want to see Sam Burns. He's going to get a hero's welcome. The Shreveport native, the LSU Tiger, who's had a sensational year. He is going to have a giant gallery and crowd. There'll be the LSU and the Go Tiger chants all day, all weekend for him.
But it's like they did for David Toms. It'd be LSU, whenever Toms would come to the tee box.
They would play the fight song too sometimes on that number one tee. So expect to get that.
It'll be a fun thing. And again, if you've never been to a PGA Tour event, put the money down and go.
Yeah, Sergio Garcia is playing in it as well. Just some of the big names. I mean, you're going to see a lot. Yeah, Mark Leishman. I mean, you got some old names. You got some big new names. A lot of Europeans, and I think part of that is to do with the fact that Colin Morikawa is playing. A lot of that has to do with the fact that you play as a team, and so it's more comfortable for them to come over and play with a buddy of theirs and have a lot of fun.
I'm gonna give you the meatandpotatoesusa.com surprise long shot pick. One of my favorite golfers, Ian Poulter. I followed him at the U.S. Open in Oakmont many years ago, and he actually chit-chatted with us a bunch. Ian Poulter's team was Shane Lowry, who was in it with 2 holes to go at Hilton Head, South Carolina this weekend. These are both Ryder Cup guys. These are both accomplished professional golfers. Poulter will be dressed all fancy. Lowry will be dressed blah. Watch out for them 2 guys as a team. If Poulter's putter's working like it does every time at the Ryder Cup, they could be a dark horse. Might have to put, the old $10 or $20 on them to win with a big payoff.
Cameron Smith, who was sensational at the Masters, he's playing in the field as well. So going to be great. I plan on trying to get out there for the Sunday finals before I got to go meet up with my boy. But one of my favorite golfers, Camilo Villegas, is going to be out there. He's always got the cigar going.
It's a strong field. If you got time, just rip through the field list or the pairings. They're all put the teams. They'll tell you who's it. You can look at all of them and figure it out. Get on down there and support it.
All right, so that's going to do it. We'll be back on Friday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. By then, we'll have the Thursday LSU game in the books. We'll tell you about how the Tigers do against Game 1 against Missouri. By the way, shout out to Lamar, the Cardinals. Last week, remember LSU did not play the game against Will Davis's Lamar Cardinals, got rained out. That game's going to be rescheduled. It has not been rescheduled yet. But Lamar beat Oklahoma on Friday. So Jay Johnson joked with me. He's like, heck, if we'd have played Lamar, we might have lost 4 in a row last week. But anyway, I hope they do get that game in. So we'll see.
Hey, Ronnie, we told people Monday we'd have just a number of pounds of crawfish that got moved out the door here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on Easter weekend. Right over 20,000 pounds of crawfish, counting live and boiled. That's 10 tons of crawfish went out the door, either live or boiled. He's got a catering job tomorrow, boiling 4,000 pounds of crawfish tomorrow, on a Thursday. So anyway, so the crawfish are flying. Still got plenty, even though we're on the other side of Easter. Lunch special today is lasagna, as it is every Wednesday. Full-blown catering, whether you need 1 sack or 4,000 pounds. But 10 tons of crawfish went out the door Easter weekend.
I would hope we're talking to him about being a Rougarou sponsor, TK, because 20,000 pounds of crawfish, I can do the math. There's some cash up there in Tremonti's.
He's going to be all about the river. In fact, one of his employees, Daniel, was asking me earlier, said, where are the games at? He goes, I saw you post something about the Rougarou. So he wants to get season tickets. So, hey, season tickets are available. I can get them for you. Ronnie can get them for you. Or go to brrougarou.com. Need to start getting them tickets now because, heck, we're almost to the end of April. And we'll be back here at Tremonti's on Friday. We'll tell you all about the weekend. Radio Saturday morning, Sports Shorts Radio. Hold the Rope Radio back to Sunday night this week, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We got Justin Vincent will come on and recap the LSU spring football game. So we'll have that for you Sunday night.
Speaking of the Hold the Rope Radio, Skip Bertman threw out the first pitch yesterday at the final Wally Pontiff.
That's awesome. Did he throw a strike?
He bounced it. It might have been a strike if it was cricket.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. He's getting a text from me a little later. Yeah, he's not awake yet, but he's getting a text from me a little later today.
All right, we'll be back on Friday. Please like and share.
Here's what I'm gonna do, Roddy. I'm gonna use Skip's line. Like when I'm sitting with him at games when it's a 2-0 count and pitcher doesn't throw a strike, he'll be like, you got to throw a strike right there. Well, I'm going to say, Coach, when you're throwing out the ceremonial first pitch, you got to throw a strike.
Probably his last first pitch ever. That's my prediction.
I'd agree with that.
At his age, and he did it because of his love for the Wally Pontiff family. And actually, yesterday was a special day. Jimmy Barbier was laid to rest, Blair Barbier's dad. So condolences to the Barbier family. Went down to Harvey, was there for the funeral. And Skip actually drove down and made an appearance prior to the actual mass and showed his respects for the Barbier family. So it was very nice of him to do that. But being at his age and whatnot, I do believe this probably was the last one. It took a lot for him to get out there on the field, and then of course the balance and all to throw it. But it was a great moment and very sweet that he did that in the 20th anniversary of the Wally Pontiff Jr. Season and passing and all that. All right, he's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We'll be back.